Okay, so today we're gonna really dig into the Stoics. Not just the abstract ideas, but the people, right? The actual lives they led.
Exactly. The messy, sometimes intense lives. That's where the philosophy really comes alive.
Yeah, because our mission here really is to get past the dusty reputation and see the stories, the actions. We want to give you that shortcut to understanding why these figures and their ideas are still so dominant.
And that focus on the life itself is, well, it's fundamental. The original sources hammer this home. The only real point of studying philosophy is to become a better person.
Right. It's not just an intellectual exercise.
No, definitely not. If it doesn't lead to action, to doing things differently, it's just, word games.
Yeah.
Stoicism is about choices, deeds, execution, not just talking about virtue.
That difference between theory and execution is so important, isn't it? Especially with the confusion around stoic with the lowercase is. That idea of just grimly enduring stuff without feeling.
Right, the stereotype. But uppercase Stoicism, the actual philosophy, that was vibrant, expansive. These people, they loved, they grieved, they fought battles. They were often the core of the resistance against tyranny in their time.
So how does that work? Intense action versus perceived passivity.
Well, they weren't aiming for apathy, not at all. They were focused on mastering the one thing they believed you truly control, your judgments, your responses, and the toolkit for that was surprisingly straightforward, just 4 key virtues.
Courage, temperance, justice, and wisdom.
Exactly. Simple to list, incredibly hard to live. And everyone we're talking about today, they were basically stress testing those virtues constantly, whether they succeeded or sometimes failed.
Okay, let's start right at the beginning then, with Zeno of Kishon, the accidental founder, you could say.
Yeah, he wasn't exactly planning on starting a school of philosophy. He was a merchant, a pretty wealthy one, from Phoenicia.
And his philosophical journey starts with, well, a disaster, a shipwreck.
A huge one. Lost his entire cargo. We're talking his valuable Tyrian purple dye. A fortune. Just gone. Imagine that.
Devastating. But Zeno's reaction is what's key, isn't it?
Totally. Instead of ruin, he reframed it. Famously said, I made a prosperous voyage when I suffered shipwreck. That loss pushed him towards Athens, towards philosophy.
And he literally finds his path in a bookstore.
Kind of amazing, yeah. Reading about Socrates. And he asked this pivotal question, not what did Socrates think, but where can I find a man like that? He wanted a living example, not just theories.
That search led him to develop his own core teaching, right? About the smooth flow of life.
Yes, finding that flow by aligning your individual nature, your daemon, with the universal nature, with reality as it is. Basically, finding peace by accepting what you can't control and focusing on your own reasoned choices. Aligning inner purpose with outer reality.
And he lived it too. Wasn't just talk. He became known for his discipline, his frugality.
Oh, absolutely. It actually became a saying in Athens. If someone was really self-controlled, people would say they were more temperate than Zeno the philosopher. He set the bar high from the start.
So if Zeno's the founder who stumbled into it, who comes next? Who carries the torch?
That would be Cleanthes of Assos, the apostle, the truly devoted student.
Yeah.
And his background. Completely different from Zeno's wealth.
Right. Cleanthes came from poverty, didn't he? Hard labor was his life before philosophy.
Deep poverty, yeah, from northwestern Turkey. And he kept working, drawing water, grinding grain, even after he started studying with Zeno. He needed the money.
There's an amazing story about him being accused of loafing, right?
Yes. Neighbors thought, how can this guy study philosophy all day? He must be doing nothing. They dragged him to court.
Then his defense?
He just brings witnesses. The gardener he drew water for, the baker whose grain he ground. The court doesn't just acquit him. The elders are so impressed they award him money, saying they wanted more folks like this in Athens. Incredible work ethic.
And the lengths he went to just to learn. It's striking, recording Zeno's lectures.
Yeah.
How did he do that affordably?
Well, papyrus was expensive. So the story goes, he used cheap, available materials, like old oyster shells, or the flat shoulder blades of oxen. He scratched the notes onto those.
Wow. Writing philosophy on bone fragments because you can't afford paper? That really shows the commitment, the temperance, and action. It makes you think about what we think we need just to learn something.
Isn't it? Cleanthes became Zeno's successor, kept the school going for nearly 20 years, absolutely vital.
Okay, so we have the foundation, Zeno the founder, Cleanthes the dedicated apostle. But schools of thought, they never stay static, do they? There's always disagreement.
Always. And the first big internal challenge came from Aristo. He took issue with one of Zeno's core practical ideas.
Which was?
Zeno believed in preferred indifference, things like health or wealth, Morally neutral technically, but still preferable to sickness or poverty, practical stuff.
Makes sense for a former merchant.
Right. But Aristo, he was having none of it. He went radical.
How so?
Aristo argued that virtue, and only virtue, was the good. Period. Everything else. Complete indifference was the goal. Health, wealth, reputation didn't matter at all. Forget preferred. Just indifference.
So, ditch the practicalities, focus only on the inner state. He wanted students to rely purely on intuition.
Exactly, like an athlete totally in the zone, acting purely from training and instinct. No need for complex rules or lists of preferred things, just virtue.
That must have caused some sparks in the classroom.
Oh, definitely. Aristo was apparently quite forceful, maybe even aggressive, in his arguments. There's a story, possibly apocryphal but telling, that Zeno himself once lost his temper and shouted at Aristo during a debate.
What did he say?
Something like, "You're a babbler, and I suspect your father was drunk when he sired you." Shows the intensity, right? Even among these supposedly serene philosophers.
It certainly does. So who steps in to manage these internal debates and also defend Stoicism from other rival schools?
That crucial role fell to the third leader, Chrysippus of Soli, often called the fighter.
Another one who came to philosophy through hardship.
Yes, seems to be a theme. He apparently had a background as an endurance runner, and like Zeno, lost his family property, which pushed him towards philosophy in Athens.
And his big contribution was systematizing everything.
Absolutely critical. Chrysippus was the great organizer, the logician, the debater. He took Zeno's and Cleanthes' foundational ideas and built them into a robust, defensible philosophical system. He fought off arguments from the Platonists, the skeptics.
So he really solidified the Stoa.
So much so that the saying went, if there had been no Chrysippus, there would be no Stoa. He was incredibly prolific.
How prolific?
We hear numbers like over 705 volumes attributed to him. Maybe an exaggeration, but the point is he wrote constantly, something like 300 works just on logic. He defined philosophy itself as the cultivation of rightness of reason.
A true intellectual powerhouse.
Yeah.
And yet, his death. The stories are a bit unusual for such a serious guy.
Hey, yeah, they're wonderfully contradictory. One version says he died after a lecture from drinking undiluted sweet wine, a rare indulgence gone wrong.
Okay. And the other?
The other, which I personally prefer, is that he saw a donkey eating figs from his garden. He apparently found this hilarious and told his servant, "Give the ass some pure wine to wash down the figs." And then he laughed so hard, he died.
Died laughing at a donkey.
It seems so. It kind of humanizes him, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even the great system builder could appreciate absurdity.
It definitely does. Okay, so we've seen the Greek origins. Now the shift to Rome, where Stoicism seems to become much more about political action.
Exactly. Philosophy enters the arena, quite literally sometimes. And the prime example is Cato the Younger, Rome's Iron Man.
He wasn't known for writing, though, more for how he lived.
Precisely. His fame rests entirely on his actions, his ironclad integrity and selflessness, especially in the Roman Senate during a time of immense corruption.
He was known for resisting corruption, right? How did he do it?
He practically pioneered the political filibuster.
Yeah.
He'd use his voice, his stamina, just talking endlessly to block shady deals, particularly preventing corrupt tax collection contracts. He was relentless.
And his lifestyle reflected his principles.
Completely. He chose a very simple, almost Spartan life. Deliberately indifferent to popular opinion, focused solely on his duty to the Republic. It's like he took Aristo's radical idea of virtue as the only good and applied it directly to high-stakes politics.
That level of integrity often runs in families, doesn't it? What about his daughter, Portia?
Portia Cato, yes. An incredible figure. She married Brutus, one of Caesar's assassins. She represents a kind of quiet, steely heroism. She understood the dangers of political conspiracy and knew she had to prove she was strong enough to be trusted.
And she proved it in a pretty dramatic way.
Extremely. The story is she secretly stabbed herself in the thigh with a small knife, not to harm herself seriously, but to test her own endurance against pain and fear.
Wow.
Then she showed the wound to Brutus, basically saying, "See, I can handle pain. I won't break under pressure. I am superior even to pain." Only then was she brought into the conspiracy against Caesar. That's intense fortitude.
Intense is right. But not everyone who studied or admired Stoicism managed to live up to these ideals, did they? There have to be cautionary tales.
Oh, absolutely. Understanding the failures is just as important. Take Cicero, the famous orator.
He admired the Stoics.
Deeply. He even called them the only true philosophers. He wrote extensively about their ideas, and yet
His own character faltered.
big time, especially when it came to courage. Cicero was brilliant, But he was also deeply driven by vanity, by philodoxia, love of fame, and philotimia, love of status or honor.
And that led him astray.
It led him to compromise his principles for political gain, to exaggerate his own importance, and ultimately it contributed to his downfall, his banishment, and eventually his execution. He knew the philosophy, but his ego got the better of him.
A classic case of knowing the path but not walking it. Is there an even starker example of failure?
There is the story of Diotimus. It's brief but brutal. We barely know anything about his life, only one act,
Which was
an act of indisputable malice.
years after the rival philosopher Epicurus was dead. Diotimus forged over 50 obscene, licentious letters and published them under Epicurus's name just to slander his reputation posthumously. That's incredibly petty and vicious.
It's a complete betrayal of Stoic principles, particularly justice. All that philosophical training, undone by pure spite. It perfectly violates that core Stoic maxim Marcus Aurelius would later live by. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Diotimus shows how knowledge is worthless without integrity.
A chilling reminder. Okay, let's move to perhaps the most powerful example of living Stoicism under duress. Epictetus.
Yes, the ultimate test case, in a
Yeah.
way. His name literally means acquired one. He was born into slavery. He knew physical bondage like no other major Stoic figure.
And yet he became a beacon of freedom.
Spiritual freedom, yes. His core teaching simplified Stoicism right down to the internal domain. The only thing he argued is truly up to us, our judgments, our attitudes, our desires, our opinions, external circumstances, even literal chains, couldn't touch that inner citadel if you trained it properly.
So true freedom lies within, regardless of external status.
Precisely. He taught that physical slavery doesn't have to mean mental or spiritual slavery. It was a revolutionary message, especially for people living under the often brutal realities of the Roman Empire.
Did he offer practical guidance for achieving this inner freedom?
Very practical. His ethics often boiled down to two key Greek words, aneshu and apixu.
Same.
Persist and endure, anushu, regarding things outside your control, the difficulties, the hardships fate throws at you. And resist and refrain, apexu, regarding your own desires and aversions. Don't crave what isn't yours. Don't shrink from what is necessary. Endure the external, control the internal.
Simple, direct, powerful. And his influence spread far, didn't it?
Amazingly so. He didn't write anything down himself, but his student Arian transcribed his lectures. Those notes, the discourses in the handbook, survived.
And they reached.
They eventually ended up in the hands of a man named Junius Rusticus, a respected Roman statesman and philosopher. And Rusticus, seeing their value, gave a copy to a student, a young man named Marcus Aurelius.
Wow. So the teachings of a former slave directly shaped the emperor of Rome.
Incredible, isn't it? The hard-won wisdom of someone who knew bondage became the philosophical bedrock for arguably the most powerful man on earth at the time. That's legacy.
So wrapping this all up, what's the big takeaway for someone listening today? What does this whirlwind tour through these lives really tell us?
I think it shows that the power of Stoicism isn't hidden in complex texts. It's demonstrated in these lives. Zeno losing his ships, Cleanthes writing on bones, Cato fighting corruption, Epictetus enduring slavery. Their philosophy was forged in action, in the choices they made under immense pressure.
It's about character and action.
Exactly. Which leads directly to that principle Marcus Aurelius articulated so well. There is no role so well suited to philosophy as the one you happen to be in right now.
It doesn't matter your station in life.
Not at all. Emperor on the throne, person stuck in traffic, parent dealing with a difficult child. The quality of how you perform the role you've been given, using those virtues, courage, temperance, justice, wisdom, that's what makes you a philosopher in the Stoic sense. It's about how you live right now.
And maybe the ultimate demonstration of that how comes at the very end. You mentioned Seneca's quote.
Right. To philosophize is to learn how to die. Every single one of these figures faced death. Cato, the defiant political martyr. Chrysippus, maybe laughing at a donkey. Epictetus, likely dying quietly after a life of teaching freedom.
In that final moment, they show their training.
In that final moment, they're demonstrating or failing to demonstrate perhaps the courage, the poise, the acceptance that their whole life of practice was aiming for. It's the final exam.
So the question they leave us with really is about our own training.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Are you doing the work now? Are you practicing these virtues in the small, everyday challenges so you're ready for the bigger ones? Are you using your limited time well? That's the challenge Stoicism throws down.
A powerful challenge indeed. That's our deep dive for today. Thank you for walking us through these incredible lives.
My pleasure. It's always inspiring to revisit them.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.